Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff Mom Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio's How Stuff Works.
All right. Ooh, am I doing the introduction to this episode?
Yep.
This is brand new for me.
Oh, well, let's see what happens.
What? I already screwed it up, didn't I?
No.
So we thought we would do a quick pause with all the juicy topics we've been filling your ear holes with. Mm-hmm. Your lovely ear holes.
Definitely.
Because we like your ear holes.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm making it weird. And actually take a glance back and do some updates and follow-ups from recent past episodes. So everything that we've done, including our trauma miniseries. And before we start this episode, go ahead and put the trigger warning in. We're briefly talking about sexual assault, adult topics, and suicide. And when I say adult topics, you know, adult thing.
I don't know.
It may be on HBO late night.
Okay.
Showtime late night. We're not going to go graphic, but you know.
Okay.
Just to throw that heads up. And it's been a crazy few months.
It has been. Yeah. This world changes very quickly.
Very quickly. And updates are necessary, especially as things are heating up.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we are all still caught up.
Yeah.
And all in this together.
Yeah.
And we're here with you.
And sometimes we'll probably do these episodes every couple of months because sometimes something breaks in the news that we want to talk about and we've already kind of talked about it. Exactly. And it's not an entire episode, but we do want to talk about it. And so one of those big ones
is the Brett Kavanaugh. And I don't even want to say the name just because of all of the sadness that happens when I think on it.
So a lot of you probably already know this, but just to kind of level set, a third allegation of sexual misconduct against Brett Kavanaugh broke recently, reported on by the New York Times. The essay expanded on Deborah Ramirez's allegation, which was not seriously investigated by the FBI.
Which was also later on told that actually was corroborated.
Yep, 25 people. She gave a list of names, 25 people. They didn't interview any. And some people reached out to the FBI and they're like, nah, we good. And the essay added a third allegation. But the woman in question says her friends say she does not remember the event that witnesses described this sexual misconduct, and that she wishes not to be interviewed. And also, the New York Times original tweet, quote, having a penis thrust in your face at a drunken dorm party may seem like harmless fun, but when Brett Kavanaugh did it to her, Deborah Ramirez says it confirmed that she didn't belong at Yale in the first place. That harmless fun bit, it caused a huge uproar. They deleted the tweet and apologized. But of course, people who say that this is all boys will be boys pointed to that.
Exactly. Exactly. And it kind of somehow put it back on Deborah saying she didn't belong. Like that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's not how you need to phrase that she felt like she wasn't welcomed.
Yes.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
We fixed it. Not that it needs to be fixed anymore. And once again, we get to see the wonders of blind excuses. Geraldo Rivera tweeted, how many men and women deep in middle age are embarrassed by blank? I added that. Hey, you know, by they did in high school and college. And he's using this as an excuse of a behavior of our current Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
Two of our female Democratic candidates that we know are calling for an impeachment due to the evidence that the FBI did not do in completing the investigation of the accusation presented at the original confirmation. And we also know that it's trending as we still believe her.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was looking into this, and he only had 37% approval rating when he was confirmed, even before. Even if it just shows a disturbing pattern of behavior.
Right.
And I don't appreciate the excuse like, oh, it was college.
Right. This is and again, I think I've talked about this before, that I've heard that many a times about they made a mistake, and you want to talk about what. This is for me, and this goes for overall anybody who is in a position of power, learning to take responsibility. That is really, really something that is missing. And I don't understand how, even on the Democratic side, they can't accept responsibility. They may have said something, they may have put in some type of legislation that later came back and was like, ugh, that wasn't great.
Yeah.
Just take responsibility for it and say, yes, this may have been something that I voted for. However, and going back and looking at how this had created a new injustice or whatever. You could even say, I didn't realize it had this type of fallout.
Yeah.
Simple. And I think I would trust someone way more in hearing that than just, well, and then bypassing it with an excuse of how they're not wrong. And I think it's just a bothersome thing, which is, again, the Kavanaugh bit is way beyond that.
Yeah.
But the fact that he can't even take responsibility and flat out is denying and lying about things, that's what's even worse, especially when we put them as a freaking standard of truth and justice.
Yeah.
And then with that, also Jeffrey Epstein, we kind of bypassed him. And I don't want to bring too much into it because, he's dead and there's a lot of conspiracy theories. But we're going to let the conspiracy boys handle that one. But I think a lot of the question that I was really angry about is the way they were phrasing, still using the terms child prostitute or sex with underage girls, in which you want to be like, this is called rape. Yep. This is called trafficking.
Yeah.
And I get so angry. I'm like, why are you still phrasing it like this? A 14-year-old cannot consent. And this is obviously a traffic ring. So can we go ahead and clarify that language? Let's go ahead and put that away. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's really important. It's a really important clarification.
Right. And as we see more and more, like, are we going to know? Are we going to know the perpetrators? We got a few names here and there, but the level of depth, and I think these victims deserve justice. And just because they have money doesn't mean they are above the law. But hey, that's just my thoughts and process, whatever. Your thoughts?
I think money does put you above the law, Samantha. No, obviously I agree. Unfortunately, our system is kind of set up.
But yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things we had previously talked about. And I know previous episodes about sex workers, and hopefully you and I will revisit some of those conversations. This is kind of those things. It's like, this is not sex work. This is abuse. So we need to clarify what this is because there are adult females who are in that world and do it freely and can make money and go ahead.
Yeah.
Be safe and make sure you know consent. Go for it.
Yeah. Consent is key. Consent
is super key. And if you are not an adult, you can't consent.
We should write a song.
I will. I want to have it with a accordion, though, for some reason.
Well, no one will. Well, I was about to bad talk the accordion, but I like the accordion. Weird Al really won me over.
God.
I think it's more you playing the accordion, no offense. Can you play the accordion?
No, I don't want to play. I want someone else. I would never.
Okay.
I would never make.
All right.
I would never make anyone listen to me playing an accordion.
All right.
But with those levels, again, we're still talking about #MeToo, and we're going to talk about Chanel Miller because it's fantastic. I hate that that's the reason we know her.
Yeah.
Is not necessarily because of her accomplishments and to-be accomplishments, but is because she has finally revealed her name, coming out in support of women who have been victims and are survivors, and coming out in Powerhouse with her book, memoir, Know My Name. Fantastic title. That title is absolutely amazing. And I know there's a lot of buzz, and she's put up several quotes about being there and seeing girls and being there for them, and I think it's fantastic, and I hate that we're having to talk about this again, not about her, but this even exists and why what she went through and the statements that she wrote out for the court hearing, why it's still relevant and will be relevant and will continue to be relevant until we truly believe and put into justice system a way of holding white privileged males accountable.
Right. And for people who don't know, this is the Brock Turner case we're talking about.
Correct. And I think on top of that, I'm like, make your money, honey. I mean, if you can make money off of something this horrendous,
that is...
Take power.
Yeah, that is yours.
Do it. Right. Own it, take it, and use it. Which also comes back to the whole continuing to fight to be believed, which is so absurd.
It's exhausting.
And I know we're... honestly, maybe it's a pessimistic view, but I don't know if we'll ever get to that point. Just trying to talk about it and trying to look through all of these things. When I'm reading articles, it's so infuriating to see that small percentage we talked about that is actual false accusations.
Yeah.
They're using 2 or 3 of those examples as, see, this is what's happening. They're ruining people's lives. And you're like, dude. Or actually, in the case that I was reading, it was a female writer. I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you so hell-bent in saying this doesn't exist?
I've had to sit down. I've had 2 male friends when I've like said statistics say, well, this person in my life was a female and she was faking, and I've had to sit them down and be like, okay, no. No. It's not the same. And that is something that has come out for me through therapy when I finally kind of did the walkthrough of like this most traumatic event. I thought our therapist wouldn't believe me. That's how like ingrained it is. When I told her, I had an immediate fear like she was not going to believe me.
Wow.
And of course she did. But to me, that was so revelatory that I'm having this private, confidential conversation with someone who's never going to go to my face unless I'm like clearly a pathological liar or something.
And that's what you're being treated for.
Right. Well, shh. And I thought, she's not going to believe me.
Wow.
That was the first time I'd ever like told anybody the whole thing. And that was my first like knee-jerk kind of, oh God, what have I done?
Right.
And we did want to touch on that a little bit.
Right. We did, because we did an episode, each of us, of the therapy sessions. And I will say I have paused because of monetary issues.
I don't mean to laugh at you, but monetary issues was a funny phrase I was not expecting.
But I'm getting prepared to go back, obviously. But we did hit a lot of things. She recommended White Fragility for me, which is fantastic. And I have started reading into that. And yes. Just yes. She did give me a lot of homework, and there was a lot of writing. And I think it was fantastic. It was really important because, you and I were talking about the fact that it was really important to me to have a woman of color being our therapist, because for the longest time I only had white women, and white women, you guys are fantastic. We love you. Please know. There's nothing wrong here. I love you, Anney. You're amazing. But as a person of color, it felt really, really hard trying to talk about the issues of my, identity, especially when I've been ingrained in Southern white culture and trying to figure everything out. So, and she was obviously fantastic in making sure that I've been met where I needed to be. And she's a great person. It sounds like you.
Yes. So I've run into a few setbacks because we were like working on this trauma, and I also had, homework and all these exercises to do. And then my dad died, and then my brother overdosed. The day we're recording this would have been my dad's birthday.
Right.
So tonight, Samantha is coming with me.
Yes.
We're going to a local restaurant called Nikolai's Roof.
I've never been.
I've never been either. But the vodka sampler, I've got to get it because that's the last thing my dad and I talked about. And if you're wondering why, because he was not a big drinker. He did not drink. But I had just run the Peachtree Road race the last time I saw him. Like, not just, but I was wearing the shirt. And he was talking about all the times he ran it. And he was talking about, like, one of the times he ran it, my mom's family, who's a little rich, but some of them are, they took him to Nikolai's Roof, and he wanted to try, they do, like, infused vodkas there.
Okay.
They get a bunch of different ones, and he wanted to try every one.
Oh.
And as a non-drinker who just ran a race, he ended up hiding under the table, apparently.
Oh, that's my thing. Is that what's going to happen tonight?
Maybe.
Oh, I guess I need to run
not
first.
doing the vodka thing.
Are we not?
I am, but you don't have to.
Oh, I was going to be all in.
Oh, yes.
I was all
we'll
in.
We'll all be under the table. A little bit banned from Nikolai's Roof. It'll be great.
I'll just be asleep. That's not a thing.
And it's funny because I had this thought of, I've done the same thing. When one of my friends turned 21, she had like all those test tubes in different colors.
Yeah.
And I wanted to taste the rainbow, so I got all of them and took them at once.
Oh, that's such a 21-year-old thing to do.
And I also, well, I wasn't hiding on the table, but I was like passed under the table. Drink responsibly, everybody. So it kind of, it feels like I was just getting into my trauma therapy, and then all of these things started happening and they started piling up, and it's just gotten pushed back. And I have dealt with, like I said in the Dutiful Daughter episode, the main thing people told me after my dad died was he would be proud of you. And I keep thinking he didn't know me, and if he did, he wouldn't. And I know that's nonsense, but that's something I've been struggling with. And that's the shame factor that we've talked about so much.
Yeah.
That's how powerful it is.
It is.
And I did have a flashback a couple weeks ago, but thanks to this show, I was able to get out of it pretty quickly.
I love it.
And like we say all the time, in that series, healing is not a straight line.
Right.
There are good days and bad days.
Exactly. And it's never necessarily fixed.
No, which I was going to say, I've noticed since I've been more open about my past trauma, so many people have come up to me and shared their past trauma with me. And I'm really glad that they do. I'm really glad that they trust me. I don't want it to stop.
Right.
But it makes me so angry because it's so many people I know.
Yeah.
Oh.
It is.
And you want to fix it. You want to help.
do.
And when we talked about it, you can't. Like, you can listen, and that's about.
You just got to be there.
Gotta be there. And I try
Just-
to give, like, here are some resources if you're interested. But
Which is fantastic. And just giving love.
giving love.
Giving love.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Right. And I did want to mention, too, because a lot of people have mentioned this to me. I don't know if you've heard about this, but there's a show called Unbelievable on Netflix.
Yeah. I saw the previews on it, and it looked really intense. And I was trying to figure out what the case was, what this, it's actually based on, this or not true story, an article written in 2015 by ProPublic and the Marshall Project called Unbelievable Story of Rape. So it was from 2015 in which a girl named Marie filed charges, and then she was charged with filing a false report.
So a lot of people have recommended it to me. And apparently it's obviously deals with a lot of what we talked about in our trauma miniseries. And a lot of the reaction I've seen from it is that female detectives should always be involved in these cases.
Right.
But yeah, it's in my queue. It's one of those things, like, everybody for a while was recommending Handmaid's Tale to me, and I did eventually watch it, and I did like it.
Oh, did
but
you?
it's like a thing where you
I can't.
have to, that's the thing, I have to, like, work up to it. I have to be in a
can't.
good space.
Right. So my friend, he's just like, I need you to get to the point that you can actually watch some types of sad shows. He's like, because that's the majority of the shows that exist. I'm like, yeah. He's like, even if it's remotely sad, I was like, yeah, no, I just can't.
And that's fair.
And it's a lot of the fact that it's also my trauma as well as continued work trauma that I'm like,
Right.
not ready.
Yeah.
I want to do a word search and keep watching Top Chef.
Yeah. This will definitely be a day I have to work up to. And I'll say
Right.
day because I usually do binge stuff like this pretty quick. I'm like, I just want to get it over.
It's Toni Collette,
I know.
whom I love.
I know.
And I'm really excited to see. But yeah, that's a lot of intense
It is.
emotions, up and down, up and down, up and downs.
I'll get to it one day.
Hey, maybe we should have a project.
A project?
Not project, but a viewing day of that together. Is that a good project? No, probably isn't. Or we could just hold each other's hands while we watch it.
We could. I don't
I'll
know
hold
if that
them to
will help
Peaches.
or hurt.
Okay. I'll hold Peaches. You hold your Bumblebee.
My bumblebee. Rudy
Rudy, I'm sorry.
or Ruby? I'll let you choose because it goes by both names.
Ruby Doobie?
That's fine.
Okay. And on top of that, Samsung. I don't know if you actually, have you heard
I
this?
haven't
So
heard
I read
about
this, I believe, in the last week. At a women's tech event, Samsung requested for the company Lioness to remove their product, which was a vibrator, from their display, even after they had been approved for their event and had already set up their display. So they knew it was coming, or they saw it was coming, they knew it was
Yeah.
coming, and they knew what the company was. And after a tweet was sent to the Twitterverse, yeah, that's what I'm calling it. And after the majority of the event day was over, the CEO of Samsung allowed the product to be displayed again. But obviously, this would be a too little, too late situation. And a part of the highlight for the event was in regards to women's health, which had plenty of things regarding fertility treatment and pregnancy and all of that, which is fantastic and well and is necessary, but was not about the other things. Obviously, we can't talk about sexual health, good
Pleasure.
good sex, feeling nice, getting the things you need as a female, whatever, as a female in general. So Samsung did give a statement to The Verge, and in it they say all the things. Of course, as they said, we regret an interaction that occurred with a presenting startup and apologized to the involved, and we've addressed this internally, blah, blah, blah. We've learned from this as we continue to sponsor female connections. You would have thought at this point in time, and especially if it's directed towards women, it's not like it's everybody, hey, it's just a tech thing.
Yeah.
But just in the fact that, yes, women enjoy sexual pleasure. And it's kind of one of those things like, why are we still so ashamed for women to enjoy sex or enjoy being pleasured? Why is this such a taboo thing?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know when we were talking about Laura DiCarlo, how there's so many, like, items aimed towards male pleasure.
Exactly.
That are totally like on the display floor, like everywhere. That's
Sex
fine.
doll.
But female pleasure. Whoa.
What is this thing?
Get out of here.
And with that, we also wanted to come back to supporting women.
Yeah.
And, I gave the example of Serena Williams.
Yes.
Serena Williams. Again, another example in the tennis world showing great sportsmanship was Naomi Osaka and Coco Gauff. The camaraderie and the love and the support was just beautiful. And I just wanted to recognize that, the hugging and the encouraging, like, you did an amazing job. You're doing great. It's just, the feels.
The feels.
The feels.
We have some more feels.
Oh.
But first, we have a quick break for a word from our sponsor. And we're back. Thank you, sponsor. So I wanted to touch on an episode we did before you came on, Samantha, with Lauren, my co-host at Savor, called Why Didn't You Believe Her? And that whole episode was based on, it was tied into Brett Kavanaugh, but it was kind of looking at it through a horror movie lens.
Of course.
I love horror movies.
Right.
I've already started my Halloween lineup.
Have you?
Yes.
What have you already watched?
It's over 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Last one.
The last one I watched? Oh, no, I don't want to say that. That was too embarrassing.
Wait,
Paranormal Activity 3.
No. Is that the one?
No.
No, I want the last one.
It was a new movie that I gave a chance called Hatchet.
Oh.
And I'll say I liked the opening in New Orleans. The rest of it,
All right, so I will not watch that one.
I mean,
I assume they just chop people up with a hatchet?
I feel like the female character in that, while unbelievable, was the MVP of their group.
Okay.
So I appreciated that.
Okay.
No shame on Hatchet if anyone likes it. It's just
you do you.
Yeah. So the whole thing is about how frequently in horror movies and Supernatural, now that you've watched it, it's everywhere. Like the episode starts, it's a dude and a lady, and she's like, I don't like this. I think I heard something. He's like, blah, 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 make out with me. And then they both die. That
was the best impression, and I loved it.
Thank you. And now I can't unsee it. I see it everywhere in horror. And yeah, as I'm working through this in my Halloween lineup, which super producer Andrew asked me how is that different from any other time, which is a fair point. And I just watched Killer Clowns from Outer Space for the first time. And they even did it in that.
Yeah.
She was very, for 30 minutes, the female character was like, I think something's wrong here. Why is there a big tent in the middle of nowhere? Why is there dead bodies here?
Right.
Maybe. And everyone's like, blah, 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 blah.
Every now and then you do have that girl that just like, oh, I hear a noise. What is that? And then falls into her death.
It's true.
Typically. And
I feel like I saw a movie where it was subverted recently, where the woman didn't believe the man. And I was like, oh, interesting. But that's kind of the exception to the general rule. I've long wanted to do, and I have not been shy about saying this, where I wanted to, once a month, talk about a horror movie.
Right.
And look at it through a feminist perspective. The first one's going to be Alien, because I am ready to go.
I was ready. Let's do this.
And it's going to be back in theaters in October.
Are they?
It's a certain anniversary.
We need to go then.
Yes.
All right.
We do.
All right.
But I did want to touch on Midsummer briefly, and it's a spoiler-free. So if you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
No spoilers. But it is one that I cannot wait. Like, whenever the statute of limitations is over, I am in.
Isn't that going to be years?
Oh, yeah. It's 10 years, I think. So a decade later, you guys, I'll be here. Mostly what I want to talk about is, and some of you probably saw this on Twitter, there were a lot of tweets saying this is the breakup movie of the year, or it's the best breakup movie you've ever seen. Okay. So there is so much gaslighting in this movie. So much. And every woman I saw it with, and I've seen it 3 times now with 3 different women, after we left, we all had the same reaction. Yeah, I've been in that relationship.
Oh,
I have been in that relationship. I've had those conversations before. I've had those fights before. And what really blew my mind is that first I was confused as to whether I should be on her side or his side. And that's awful. That's awful. And yes, let me emphasize here that her boyfriend is the worst. He's horrible. But that's how normalized gaslighting has been in my general experience. But of course, like a little further in, I was pretty confident, like, nah, he's a jerk. He's bad. And it was weird to watch their terrible relationship play out and see it for how terrible it is while knowing you have been, and me specifically, I've been in that terrible relationship, and I didn't see it for what it was when I was in it. I made excuses and justifications for being treated like trash. It's weird.
So you just pretty much watched your own relationship on giant screen 3 times.
Yeah, and a lot of, like, every woman I went with was like, yep, been there, been there. Oh, God, I want to talk about it more, but I won't.
Yep. I haven't seen it yet.
I'm telling you, we should go.
And I want to see it, for sure.
I think it's out of theaters now. They did the director's cut last weekend.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll make up for it somehow. But in the meantime, I want to touch on another thing.
Yes.
Toys and games.
Yay!
Because we also did an episode on this and the importance of having a variety of gender-neutral game and toy options for children.
Please.
Right. So, Green Army Women. Thanks to a 6-year-old girl from Little Rock, Arkansas, we are now getting Green Army Women. Because we all know those like little Green Army men. There were no women. And this little girl noticed it. She noticed that there weren't any women for her to choose from. And she wrote 3 toy companies letters that read something like this, quote, "Some girls don't like pink, so please can you make army girls that look like women?" One of those companies was BMC Toys, who is now planning on rolling out 4 types of army women, including a captain.
Nice.
The owner of BMC, Jeff Immel, had been contacted about creating Green Army Women a year or so earlier by a retired Navy sailor, a woman. And he got his sister, who is an artist by the name of Tina Immel, to draw up some prototypes. He told WNEP, "Whether it's a dinosaur or Davy Crockett or an army man, maybe having a set of plastic army women will help some kids somewhere be the hero of their own story at playtime." And I think that's a good thing for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yes. Green Army Men have been around since the 1930s, by the way, and made it into the National Toy Hall of Fame in 2014.
Right.
They are also my favorite characters from Toy Story when you're running a Disney World race so when you run a Disney World race at every mile, there's characters like cheering you on.
Right.
And they're usually right after you run up this super steep hill and they're kind of yelling at you, I like it.
Do they do the walk because they have that stand?
Yes. I think so. Usually at this point, I'm hallucinating the finish.
That's fair.
It's towards the end. And then, another thing, Miss Monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been in the news. And you've probably heard it by now that Hasbro launched a version of Monopoly called Miss Monopoly. Quote, "The first game where women make more than men. Every time a female player passes go, she receives $240 instead of the standard $200 that male players receive. Women and girls start with $1,900 and men and boys start with $1,400. Men are rewarded for being a good ally in the game, like watching a female-led superhero movie, writing an article about women doing rad stuff, and or going to a rally. That's not the only thing that makes this version different. Instead of real estate, players invest in inventions and innovations of women throughout history.
Cool.
Gone too is the classic mascot, replaced by his niece. That seems to be the consensus. A woman, in either case. This, of course, has spurned a lot of arguments about whether this is empowering or insulting. Of course, angry dudes who don't like women are furious.
Right.
Hasbro awarded 3 young women grants of $20,580 each in non-monopoly real money for their inventions and tech.
I like you had to specify.
Yeah, I don't want them handing out monopoly money.
I don't want that.
In the video, there was a video of these teenagers discussing their inventions, and it received over 13,000 dislikes and only 650-ish likes, and the comments have been disabled.
Oh, wow.
Which does not surprise me, but it does make me very sad. Misogyny exists, but also, did we need a gendered version of this game? Like, it kind of sucks that women make more in this one version of Monopoly world, but make less in the real world.
Right. You would think that they would have some kind of option instead of having one set pay. Maybe you have a card and this is your job. Doesn't life do that? This is
Life,
your job. Yeah. This is your job, so therefore you make this amount of money.
Right. Ooh, that game. I've gotten a lot of fights over that game, and I'm like, but this is a fake life. I don't know why you're mad at me that I won the lottery.
Oh, I got more mad about Monopoly. Like, my dad had to pretend like he burned it then took it away from us because we got into so many fights about that.
I've said before, I've cheated and lost. I've never won a game of Monopoly. Um, and also, I'm not sure how I would react if I was a kid playing this, and that's how I learned about the gender wage gap.
Yeah.
I don't know. The message could be, too, that women need a head start because we can't just hack it like men. I can see how you could interpret it that way. The interesting thing about Monopoly is that it was invented by a woman named Elizabeth Magie to demonstrate the evils of landlords and people hoarding real estate.
Huh.
She filed for a patent for the landlord's game in the 1900s. And then men realized that they could make money off of this game about the evils of,
Of course.
making too much money. And then they took it and turned it into a celebration of capitalism at its worst. And while her game is accepted as the basis for Monopoly, she doesn't receive any of the official credit to this day. She made $500.
That's gross.
Yep. This is on the tails of Monopoly's millennial version. Quote, forget real estate, you can't afford it anyway. And I know there's a lot of like avocado toast in that game. And apparently there's a Monopoly for socialists, Monopoly for socialist. I've got to know more about that.
How do you have a monopoly if you're a socialist?
I don't know. We'll have to play.
No. You know, in New Girl, they talk about is it Thailand? He's like, this is like a Thailand version of Monopoly, except everybody's in jail and you fight over one property.
Oh, dear.
New Girl.
Apparently, there's a lot more to Monopoly than I ever.
Well, you can play the McDonald's version and really win some money.
I used to have the computer version of the Star Wars one.
I used to have the phone. Like, it was a phone game, kind of like Solitaire, and I could just play Monopoly, and I cheated on that a lot, too.
You can cheat?
Yeah, you could just reset things. I'm like, no, I'm going to do this.
My goodness. We're a bunch of cheaters here is what we're learning. It's only when it comes to Monopoly, which is kind of the point of Monopoly.
Yeah.
All right. I wanted to throw in here, world's first vagina museum opened in London.
Can we ask our bosses if we can go visit it?
Absolutely, we can. Well, I think we'll get turned down, but
I don't. Why? I want to go.
Any listeners, go check it out. It's new. I've been to museums like this before, and they're, in my experience, a little weird. But this one could be super cool. So I'd love any listeners who go.
Wonder if there's any Georgia O'Keeffe type of.
I hope so.
Things in there. I hope so.
We gotta believe it.
I loved it.
And then D&D update.
Oh yes.
I know everybody's been waiting.
I've been waiting forever.
I am in the midst of running my first campaign. I found it is a lot of work, but it is a lot of fun. I like having the power.
So are you gonna have another limbless body to drag around?
Well, that's up to them.
Okay.
Now I'm the one that just kind of sets the rules and they try to break them in any way that they can. No one ever does what I think that they will do. Even when I go out of my way to think to myself, what's the last thing I think they'll do? Nope, there's another thing behind that thing that they've thought to do. Also, in theory, this campaign was supposed to be a one-shot, meaning it takes one session. But we're barely getting into the main story with a whole bunch of different storylines branching off that. And we're 4 sessions in.
Oh, wow.
So I'll continue to keep you updated as things go off the rails. Yes. And another very important update about updates is fan fiction. 2 of my favorite fan fictions updated it, and they hadn't updated in years.
What were they?
That's a huge deal. One of them was a Harry Potter one.
Oh, okay.
No, they were both Harry Potter fan fiction.
Oh.
And they hadn't updated in like 5-6 years.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And they decide. I wonder what made them decide to do so.
I don't know. They wrote a big note like, "Hey, sorry about this. I didn't abandon it, but I've been busy." I'm like, yeah.
I mean, yes.
We've all been a little still checking this story, and I'm like, no.
Not me. I didn't print it off and just sitting in the bed with it.
Don't tell everyone about my printing off of the stories.
And I was just going to quickly mention Peaches because, that was what my stuff was. And my update is she's still a jerk, but adorable. Yeah, she just rolls around like a nutter. And I love it.
Yeah.
She hugs me. She cuddles me. She doesn't, but I think she does.
You like to...
I imagine, because I make her put her paws like around my neck a little bit.
Go away.
And I'm just holding her and I hear from her. So, it's okay. I accept it. I accept it. Social work world. Things have been slowly changing because, as governments transition or new administration happens, things change.
Yep.
So there's been changes. That's all I got.
Oh, I was trying to think of something encouraging to say, but
it's still, I will say that just personally, I have to review some of our kids that get treatment. Actually, all of our kids that get treatment. And we had a really great one. And I have a lot of hope for this kid. So that's always nice to see.
Yeah.
So I'll give that out there.
Yeah. We have some more things that are nice to hear.
Ooh.
But first, we have one more quick break for a word from our sponsor. And we're back. Thank you, sponsor. And we're back with something we've been meaning to bring back for a while. Listener mail.
Yay.
Yes, we love getting it. Marianne wrote, "My name's Marianne, and I'm a new listener to the podcast. I am really enjoying all the episodes. Thank you. I just listened to your SMNTY Pulls an All-Nighter episode, and I had a few things to say about it. I suffer from polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, and I'm learning so many things about it and recently discovered the role sleep plays in the regulation of our hormones, as you say in the episode. I wanted to share some of the things that have helped me get such better sleep.
Yes.
One of the ways that can help reset circadian rhythm is light therapy, specifically spending time outside during the day and night to help your body realize when it's time to start winding down to go to sleep. Spending time outside in the early morning, midday, and evening can greatly help regulate your body into realizing when it's time to go to bed. As little as 30 minutes can greatly improve one's quality of sleep. I have switched over to using a dawn I don't know what that is, but I'm interested.
Oh, I guess I could totally explain that to you. Yeah, so it's just this light that literally glows open as if it's a sunrise. Yeah.
Okay, so she switched over to that, a dawn simulating alarm clock. Thanks for the explanation, which has greatly helped me get up in the mornings. Additionally, my doctor recommended melatonin to me, but stresses that larger dosages over an extended period of time can have a negative impact on the body's natural production of melatonin. As a result, she recommends 0.5 milligrams a couple hours before bedtime to let your body know, hey, you should be winding down to go to bed, and then larger doses for the times when you wake up in the middle of the night or when you travel. Just these 3 things have helped me immensely, and I no longer wake up fatigued, and I felt compelled to share with you." Well, thank you so much. We did get a lot of tips about how to sleep better, and very much appreciate it.
Yes.
Keep them coming.
Because I did not sleep last night.
I didn't either. Oh. Lindsay wrote, "I love SMNTY. Thank you. And I just listened to your episode on the opioid crisis. I'm a youth outreach worker at a community health center in London, Ontario, Canada. The crisis has hit our community hard, and so, of course, this episode resonates with me and the work I do as an outreach worker. I just wanted to let you know about some stuff that our community is doing that is pretty cool. It's been a fight to get there, but we are trying to be leaders in our country. We opened a supervised consumption site and have really stepped up our clean equipment distribution. But you really need to check out the work of Dr. Andrea Serrata and the work that she is doing with prescribing opioids to her patients in her Safer Supply program. It's one of the very few programs that is prescribing take-home pills like this. And you can find her on Twitter. Her handle is Andrea Serrata, Sereda.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
totally
hearing
check that
about
out.
Yeah, and so I also, some of the social media comments, because I'm so good at that, the social media.
Yes.
Listener Segal, and I'm really sorry if I mispronounced that. And it's at, I'm just going to spell this out, SSHARHAR1. Shared this after What's in a Name episode. Hi, just a comment about Vladimir Putin's name from the names episode. Russians have a patronymic name, and you can notice this custom in Russian literature. So Putin's father was, in fact, also Vladimir. Vladimir Vladimirovich is Vladimir's son of Vladimir. I just wanted to put that so I can try not to fumble over that, and I did 10 times, so which was fantastic. I was like, that's super interesting, and a lot of Vladimirs in that sentence.
Yes.
So Alhera's podcast let us know, in Brazil, we're trying to fix this gap after we were talking about bridging the gap.
The gender gap in podcasting.
When trying to fix this gap at Our Croft, created the hashtag Mujeres Podcasteres, or podcasters. They created a hashtag, and to involve and support the that are producers and hosts. We created a community, share, and encourage these hosts to talk about anything they want. And so they talked about continuing to let us know how to invite more women to talk about the issues and to tell their stories. So I thought that was super amazing, and I loved what they were saying about how they were trying to get this done with the hashtag and creating more awareness for women in podcasting. And I loved it, of course, in Brazil. I was like, can I come hang out with you?
Yes.
We also had our listener, Casey Face. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I said it. I liked her handle, which is at Spock Pants.
Hey.
SPOCKPANTS, asked us about our Hogwarts houses. That was a question.
Important question.
A very important question. And I am a Ravenclaw.
As is most of the U.S.
Is it? Are they?
Yes. It's Ravenclaw by a lot. Hufflepuff, Gryffindor, Slytherin.
Yeah, and you are supposedly...
I am definitely Gryffindor.
I don't know, because I'm saying, you and I had this conversation. There is some doubt.
That was a confidential conversation.
But Casey Face is actually a Hufflepuff. So now we just need our Slytherin. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to throw that there because I thought that was fun. We love talking about Harry Potter on here, so might as well, right?
All the time.
Yeah.
I have a friend who, so the Patronus test, I got Swift on my first time and I liked it, so I never took it again. And plus, to take it again, you have to register a new email address.
Ooh.
But all my other friends didn't like the one they got the first time, so they registered a second email address and took it again. And they all got swan and horse and wolf, except for one. She got mole. And she tried to hide it from us. And I'm telling everybody on this podcast, I won't say her name, but I'm telling her story.
You have a friend who's a mole.
And she tried to hide it from us, but then, she took a picture of it, and we were taking pictures with her phone, and we all saw it.
Oh, no!
Yes.
I thought she just said it drunkenly.
Be cute.
They can be cute. Wait, producer Andrew, are you in the house of something? Oh.
Another Gryffindor.
Whatever.
Hey.
I'm a Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw's great. They all have their own qualities.
They all have their own.
It's a very political way to say it. And if you want to write in about your Hogwarts house, super happy to hear it, obviously. You can write to us. Our email address is stuffmediamomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Twitter @momstuffpodcast or on Instagram @stuffmomnevertold you. Thanks, as always, to our super producer, Andrew Howard.
Thanks, Andrew.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff Mom Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio's How Stuff Works. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.